Chapter 1. The Arrival. The boat that carried me to the island was barely more than a coffin with a sail. It lurched on the waves, every swell lifting us too high, every drop threatening to spill us into the black jaws of the sea. The captain didn't speak much. When I asked how long it would take, he spat tobacco over the side and muttered, "Too long. Should have left that rock to the gulls." I wanted to ask what he meant, but the look in his eyes. I stayed quiet. I carried only a satchel, a few shirts, a knife, a water-warped Bible I hadn't opened in years, and my father's pocket watch. My life had become small enough to fit in one bag. Gambling debts, bad choices, and bridges burned left me one step from ruin. When the posting for a lighthouse keeper appeared on the harbor board, I grabbed it. What better place to disappear than at the edge of the world? When the fog thinned, I saw it, the lighthouse. It rose from the cliff like a blackened finger stabbing the heavens. The sea foamed angrily against its base. Gulls circled endlessly, screaming like mourners. Waiting at the dock was a tall, bent man leaning on a cane. His beard was gray and tangled, his eyes pale as milk. "You're the new one," he rasped. "Yes, sir. Elias Crane." He studied me like a butcher weighing bad meat. "Jonah, keep her before you. Come on." We climbed the cliff path. The sea on both sides frothed against the rocks. No trees, no cottages, no sign of life but gulls and waves, just that tower standing like a tombstone. Inside, the air smelled of oil, salt, and rust. Jonah led me up the spiral staircase to the lantern room where the great lamp loomed. Brass gears, glass panels, polished lens. Jonah touched it with reverence. "This is the only thing keeping you breathing here." I try to laugh. "It's just a lamp." His gaze snapped to me, sharp as a gull's beak. "No, it's survival. You'll see." From his coat, he pulled a leather logbook, warped with age. The brass clasp was scarred with deep scratches, as if claws had raked it. He shoved it into my hands. "You'll read the first page tonight. 6 rules. Keep them, you'll last. Break them." He looked toward the horizon, face hollow. "You'll wish you hadn't." A storm began to gather outside. Jonah packed slowly, his cane tapping the stone floor. At the door, he stopped, eyes on me. "Rules aren't suggestions, they're chains. Break one and you'll drown on dry land." Then he was gone, swallowed by rain. The silence of the lighthouse was crushing. I sat on the bunk, the logbook heavy in my lap. Outside, the sea roared. I unlatched the clasp with shaking fingers. The first page was covered in cramped, urgent writing, the 6 rules. 1. Never let the light go out after sunset. 2. Never open the door if you hear knocking after midnight. 3. Do not answer voices calling from the sea. 4. Do not fish or eat anything caught from these waters. 5. Never look directly into the fog when it rolls ashore. 6. Always check the logbook at dawn. My throat went dry. These weren't rules for keeping ships safe. They were rules for keeping me safe. The lamp above hummed faintly. The sea groaned against the cliffs, and I realized how far I was from the rest of the world. Thunder cracked. The night came down. Chapter 2. The 6 Rules. That first night, I thought Jonah was just a superstitious relic. But when you're alone in the tower, the sea pressing on every side, the wind howling like it wants in, you start to wonder. I sat with the logbook, reading those 6 rules over and over. Don't answer voices. Don't open the door. Don't look at the fog. Madness. Then the sun went down. The lantern above flared to life, a small sun against the storm. I climbed the stairs to check it. Through the glass, the ocean writhed. The rain slashed sideways. And then I heard it. A voice. A woman's voice, soft, carried on the storm, singing. Not words, just melody, curling inside my skull, sweet and sad. My muscles froze. Jonah's warning echoed, "Do not answer voices calling from the sea." I stumbled back down the stairs, fists pressed to my ears, but the voice followed, rising, falling, weaving into the thunder. For one terrible moment, I thought I heard my mother's voice in it. My lips parted. I nearly called back, but I slammed them shut. Hours passed. The singing faded. My chest still ached from holding my breath. At midnight, it changed, knocking. 3 heavy knocks at the base of the tower. Boom, boom, boom. I froze. Who would be out there in a storm like this? The supply boat wouldn't come for months. No fishermen, no neighbors, nothing but sea and stone. The knocks came again, harder. My body moved toward the stairs before my brain caught up. Someone needed help, but my hand stopped halfway down the rail. Rule 2 burned in my skull. Never open the door if you hear knocking after midnight. The knocking turned desperate. Fists hammering, then palms slapping, then scratching. A voice cried through the wood, muffled, pleading, "Help me, please, please let me in." Tears burned my eyes. Whoever it was, they were drowning out there. But then the voice changed. It dropped low, thick, a growl no human throat could make. I stumbled back. The scratching stopped. Silence. The storm carried on, but the door stayed still. I sat awake till dawn, clutching the logbook, staring at the door. When the sun rose, I opened it with trembling fingers and found nothing. No footprints, no wreckage, just empty rock slick with rain. Back upstairs, I checked the logbook as Rule 6 demanded and saw something new. Fresh handwriting, same cramped scrawl. "You followed the rules. Good. Keep following them." I dropped the book like it burned, because I hadn't written that. And Jonah was gone. Chapter 3, First Temptations. The days stretched into a blur of monotony. Wake at dawn, check the logbook, clean the glass, wind the gears, eat just enough beans to keep from fainting, walk the stone base of the tower and pretend I wasn't completely alone. By the 3rd day, I started talking aloud just to hear my own voice, whispering into the rooms, reciting lines of old prayers I half remembered, even singing once or twice to drown out the endless drone of the wind. But the nights belonged to them. The 3rd night the song came back, softer as if it knew I was listening. It floated up from the sea, sweet and coaxing. At first I pressed my palms to my ears, rocking on the bed. But then it changed. It wasn't just a woman's voice anymore. It was my mother's, I swear to God. The way she used to hum while scrubbing the floor, her voice dipping when she grew tired. "Elias," she called between the notes. "Elias, my boy." I shot upright, my heart pounding. I hadn't heard her voice since I buried her. "Mother?" I whispered before I remembered the rules. The logbook's words burned in my mind. Do not answer voices calling from the sea. I clamped my mouth shut, but tears rolled down my cheeks anyway. The song grew louder, sharper. "Answer me, Elias. Why won't you answer me?" I stuffed my blanket into my mouth to keep from screaming. When it finally faded, I lay in the silence for hours, shivering. By the 5th night, it wasn't my mother's voice anymore. It was my brother Daniel's, dead 10 years, "Elias." He called from outside the door, "Elias, it's me. Let me in, brother." I crept halfway down the stairs before I caught myself. My hand touched the latch. My brother's laughter echoed in my mind. Summer days fishing by the docks, barefoot races across the fields. God help me, I wanted to believe. But then the voice slipped, just a fraction. Too deep, too wet, too hungry. "Let me in," it hissed. I wrenched my hand back as if the metal burned me. The door rattled. The laughter turned to shrieking. Claws scraped the wood. I staggered back, clutching the logbook like a crucifix. By dawn, the logbook bore a fresh line in that same tight script. You resisted, but it knows your weakness now. Chapter 4, The Fog. On the 7th night, the fog rolled in. At first, it seemed ordinary, creeping over the sea like a gray blanket. But as it thickened, I realized it wasn't fog at all. It was alive. It pulsed, shifted, crawled instead of drifted. I remembered Rule 5, never look directly into the fog when it rolls ashore. So I kept my head down. But I couldn't resist. Just a glance, I thought, just to see. Shapes moved in it, not ships, not waves, taller than men, thinner than trees. They bent and unbent like dancers, swaying in slow rhythm, limbs too long, joints bending the wrong way. My stomach turned. One of them stopped, tilted its head toward me. I stumbled back from the window, but the fog pressed closer, tendrils curling against the glass like fingers. The air grew heavy, my breath smoked. I heard whispering, wet, sloshing syllables like seawater speaking in a tongue older than bones. And then I heard my name, Elias. I bit my tongue until I tasted blood, forcing myself not to answer. A face formed in the fog against the glass, white, featureless. But its mouth was wide, too wide, stretching open into the shape of a scream. I threw a blanket over the window, sat with my back against the wall, whispering, "It's not real, it's not real, it's not real." But the whispers seeped through the walls, crawled into my head, filled my dreams when I dozed. When dawn came, the fog peeled away like skin. The stone outside was slick, glistening, slimy, like something had pressed against it all night. The logbook had new words. You looked, now they see you. Chapter 5, The Mermaid. By the second week, hunger clawed at me. Jonah had left scraps, moldy bread, beans crawling with weevils, a few onions pickled in sour brine. I rationed carefully, but my stomach ached constantly. Rule 4 said, never eat anything caught from these waters, but my knife itched in my hand whenever I stared down at the tide pools. That's when I saw her. She was sitting on the black rocks below the cliff. Long hair black as kelp, skin pale as pearl. Her tail shimmered silver blue, scales catching the weak sunlight. She sang as she combed her hair, the same melody I'd heard through storms. When she lifted her face, her eyes met mine, and she smiled. Something inside me broke. Days of silence, loneliness, fear, they all cracked under that smile. She wasn't monstrous. She wasn't a voice in the fog. She was human. "Come down, Elias," she called, her voice carrying over the surf. "You're starving. I'll feed you. I'll keep you warm." My legs twitched toward the stairs. I gripped the railing until my knuckles bled. "Don't you miss touch?" she whispered. "Don't you miss love? Haven't you been alone long enough?" Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to go to her more than I've ever wanted anything. But the logbook sat open on the table. Rule 3 blazed in my mind, do not answer voices calling from the sea. I squeezed my eyes shut, shoved my fists into my ears. When I dared to look again, she was gone. Only the rocks remained, but they were slick with blood, not fish blood, human, and my hunger twisted into nausea. That night, I dreamt of her crawling up the stairs, dripping water, smiling with those black eyes, her mouth too wide, her teeth too sharp. I woke screaming, and the logbook whispered, "Dawn, she will try again." Chapter 6, The Breaking of the Rules. I thought I knew fear, but that night, no, that storm, it broke me. It chewed me, swallowed me whole, and spat me out with salt in my lungs and blood on my hands. The logbook warned me, in its way. Just after sundown, new words appeared in that cramped handwriting. "Tonight you will break a rule. Choose carefully which one." I slammed the book shut and nearly threw it into the fire, but I couldn't. That book had kept me alive this long. The storm came in sudden and violent. No build-up, no warning. One moment the sea was restless, the next it was a battlefield, waves taller than houses slamming against the cliff. The lighthouse groaned with every blow. I swore I felt it shift beneath my feet, and then I saw it. Through the rain-smeared glass, something vast rose from the deep. Black scales gleamed like wet stone, and eyes, two enormous eyes, fixed on me from the churning water. The sea monster, real, not a hallucination, not a whisper in the fog. It wrapped one massive limb, like a tentacle but covered in jagged fins, around the lighthouse base and pulled. The whole tower shuddered. I stumbled down the steps, gripping the rail so hard my knuckles split. My heart was pounding so hard it was painful. This was it. The nightmare made flesh, and as if that wasn't enough, I heard her voice, the mermaid. That song, sweet, almost tender, weaving itself through the storm like a blade wrapped in silk. My ears rang with it, my chest ached, my eyes blurred. "Elias," she whispered inside my head, "don't fight, come to me, I'll keep you safe." I pressed my palms against my ears and screamed, "Shut up!" But her voice burrowed deeper, curling like smoke around my thoughts. Rule 2, do not answer voices calling from the sea. But what if she wasn't trying to kill me? What if she was warning me? The tower lurched again. Cracks spiderwebbed across the wall. Dust rained from the ceiling. If the monster pulled again, the lighthouse would fall. I had to act. I ran to the lamp room, the storm battering me from all sides. The light sputtered in the wind. I grabbed the oil can and dumped it, feeding the fire until the lamp flared so bright it hurt to look at. The creature roared, a sound so deep it rattled my bones. It hated the light. That gave me an idea. But to do it, I'd have to break another rule. Rule 5, never take the lamp outside the tower. Jonah had said it kept the darkness out, that without it the tower would be consumed. But if I left it inside, the monster would tear the whole lighthouse down, lamp and all, and I'd die anyway. So I broke it. I tore the lamp from its mount, shielding the flame with my body, and dragged it down the stairs. The heat seared my arm. Smoke burned my throat. Every instinct screamed I was making a mistake. I kicked open the heavy steel door, the one I was never supposed to open after midnight, and stepped into the storm. The world outside was chaos. The rain slashed my face, the wind tore at my clothes, and below me, that beast was clawing its way up the cliff. Its eyes glowed like lanterns in the black. I raised the lamp high. The light cut through the rain like a blade, striking the monster full in the face. It shrieked, rearing back, tentacles writhing. The sound nearly burst my eardrums. The tower shook but held, and then she appeared. The mermaid rising from the waves, her pale body gleaming in flashes of lightning. Beautiful, terrible. Her hair flowed like seaweed, her eyes bottomless black. She sang again, louder this time, louder than the storm, louder than the monster's roar. And I faltered. My grip on the lamp slipped, my knees buckled. I wanted, God help me. I wanted to drop everything and dive into the sea, into her arms. "Elias," she crooned, "you don't belong in that cage of stone. Come with me. Breathe water, not air. Live forever." Her voice was a drug, flooding my veins. My body swayed toward the edge. One more step and I'd fall. But then, another voice, faint, harsh. Jonah's voice echoing in my skull. "They'll use your memories against you. They'll make you see what you want most. Don't listen, boy. Don't ever listen." I screamed, a raw, broken sound, and forced my eyes open. The mermaid's face wasn't beautiful anymore, not even close. Her mouth stretched too wide, her teeth too sharp, her eyes two pits of hunger. I gripped the lamp with both hands and swung it toward her. The flame's light struck her, and she recoiled with a hiss, vanishing beneath the waves. The monster shrieked again, thrashing against the cliff. I stumbled forward, holding the lamp as high as I could, the heat burning my skin. "Come on!" I roared, my voice nearly lost in the storm. "Come and take me, you bastard!" It surged upward, a wall of scales and fins, its jaws yawning wide enough to swallow me whole. At the last moment, I hurled the lamp into its open mouth. The glass shattered, oil spilling, fire exploding across its tongue. The beast convulsed, shrieking, thrashing so violently that the sea itself seemed to boil. Flames licked across its body before the waves smothered them, but the damage was done. It let go of the cliff, sliding back into the deep with a final echoing bellow. The sea swallowed it. The storm began to break, and I collapsed on the wet stone, gasping, shaking, laughing, and sobbing all at once. I had broken the rules. Not just one, several, but I was still alive, for now. Chapter 7, The Last Light. When dawn came, the sea was quiet, too quiet. I dragged myself inside the tower, clothes soaked, skin burned raw from the lamp's flame. My hands shook as I closed the heavy door behind me. The air smelled of smoke and salt. My lungs felt shredded, my throat tasted of blood. But I was alive. I'd done the impossible. I'd driven the monster back. I'd silenced the mermaid song. I'd stood in the storm and survived. I leaned against the wall and laughed, a bitter broken sound. For a moment I thought I'd won. Then I saw the logbook, It was lying open on the table, pages fluttering in the draft. Fresh words had been written overnight, scrawled in the same cramped hand. The rules kept you alive. You broke them. Now you belong to the sea. My stomach dropped. My laugh died in my throat. No, I whispered. No, I beat it. I survived. But the words blurred, shifted on the page. New lines appeared beneath. The sea never forgets. The sea never forgives. The sea never lets go. I slammed the book shut, my hands slick with sweat. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. That's when I realized something. The tower wasn't groaning anymore. The walls weren't damp. The air wasn't filled with the ocean's roar. It was silent, too silent. I ran up the spiral stairs 2 at a time, my knees screaming in protest. I burst into the lamp room and froze. The glass windows showed no ocean, no horizon, no sky, nothing but fog, endless, shifting fog. I pounded on the glass, screaming until my throat tore. The lighthouse was no longer perched on a cliff above the sea. It was floating in a void of white, and then I heard it, knocking, that slow, deliberate knocking at the base of the tower. Boom, boom, boom. It hadn't come from the storm. It hadn't come from drowning men or desperate sailors. It had always been something else, something already inside, waiting. I stumbled back from the window, my chest heaving, sweat pouring down my spine. My eyes landed on the logbook, where the final words were still wet on the page. Keep the lamp burning, forever. I looked up at the flame, small now, flickering, weak. My body ached, my mind fractured, my strength was gone. But I knew if that light went out, the fog would come in, the knocking would come up the stairs, and whatever waited inside it would finally take me. So I sit here now, writing this, speaking this, confessing, not to warn you, no. Warnings are useless, no one listens. I speak because the fog is pressing against the glass again. The lamp is dying. My hands are too weak to lift the oil can. I don't know if I'll light it in time. And maybe I don't want to. Because sometimes death isn't the worst fate. Sometimes it's survival. Years later, they found the lighthouse again. Or maybe it found them. A supply boat, long overdue, washed ashore on a neighboring island. The men who discovered it said the boat's compass spun in wild circles, the air thick with mist that burned their lungs. Still, they pressed on, guided by the faintest flicker of light cutting through the fog, the lighthouse. When they reached it, the tower was silent, too silent. The door hung open, rust streaking its hinges. The walls inside dripped with seawater, though no waves touched the rock. And on the desk in the keeper's quarters, they found the logbook. The pages were warped, blackened at the edges, as though they'd been soaked in both salt water and flame. The last entries were nearly illegible, written in a desperate, shaking hand. They spoke of rules, of monsters in the deep, of a song no man should hear, and the final page, it held a single line, scrawled over and over until the ink carved grooves into the paper. Keep the lamp burning, forever. The men never spoke of what they saw on the cliffs as they left, of the figure standing in the fog, high in the lantern room, staring down at them with hollow eyes. But none of them ever returned to the sea, and the light still burns.